Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. Odd meters. Odd meters for songwriters is what I want to talk about today. And we've been talking about odd meters for the past few weeks. Irregular phrase lengths, groups of twos and threes that don't add up to 8, but could be 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, who knows? There are special considerations for songwriters in using odd meters, and I think they mostly flow from chord progressions, of course, because chord progressions are at the heart of songwriting these days. And also there are some lyrical considerations as well. Well, I've got 6 examples, so let's take a look. So there are numerous examples of odd meters or irregular meters in songwriting in popular music. You'll find examples of funny measure lengths in the Beatles songs everywhere. The phrase will be going along 4/4/4, and suddenly there'll be a measure of 3. There are examples in Burt Bacharach's songs as well. Again, a composer perhaps from the 60s and 70s, but I do believe that in both of those cases, the irregular meter stems from a consideration that's essentially lyrical. You got to the end of the sentence. Do I really need 3 more beats or can I go on? That's an important question for a songwriter. And the answer for a lot of songwriters is, nah, let's just move it on. I'm going to clip a couple beats off that phrase. We haven't really got that in the examples today. Today, I'm more interested in what I call the Solsbury Hill technique, that Peter Gabriel song, Solsbury Hill. And I have a version of it, because I didn't want to do the exact song. But do you know the song? You should go listen to it right now and ignore me if you don't know it. Number 6 is a kind of a Solsbury Hill trick where the composer or the songwriter establishes a kind of a slow odd meter that feels circular and gives a strong pulse and yet has a irregular hiccup that continually piques the ear of the listener, that generates interest. Well, so I've written some chord progressions and I've used some irregular meters. Let's look at our first example. And our first example is an axis chord progression. Although I've played around with it a little bit, I've done like plagal cadences on each of the or almost each of the chords. So like the progression is G, D, E minor, C, but I've gone like little plagal cadences on each of them, just an embellishment. But listen to how it works. It's in 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Here are the chords. That little plagal cadence effect, as I said. And then we get to the meter. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And you can hear, maybe as I do, the progression really strongly, the sense of flow, especially as I get into the 8th note figuration. And that flow moves us forward, but it always feels kind of like there's a little bounce, a little hiccup. Five is the simplest of the irregular meters, and maybe the first tune that you learn when you learn to play in 5 is Take 5, and that's like that, and that's 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. It's in E flat, the great Paul Desmond song, recorded by the Dave Brubeck Quartet. I love 5. You've got to play around with it to begin to internalize the physical part of the sound. That is to say, if you're a guitarist strumming in an odd meter can be strange because there's a natural up-down, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. Oh, suddenly 1 is an upstroke. Pianists also have to find their way in this kind of thing. But if we're producers working on the screen, we can easily do it. I also am going to observe that Logic has tons of odd meters already built in. They may not always be rationally grouped for you, but all odd meters should be thought of as groups of 2s and 3s. That's the easiest approach for us. Let's go on to the next example. Well, listen, before I go on, I just want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think about this topic and others that you're interested in. I know most of the people who get so much from the channel, maybe have watched 3 or 4 times, still aren't subscribed. You can just see that in the metrics. And I want to encourage you to subscribe so that you stay in touch with what's happening, because we're building a community of producers, songwriters, composers who are interested in using music theory, and this is music theory, but not academic music theory. They're interested in developing their own music theory to work on what's important to them. My teacher, Dr. Roland Wiggins, said, you must become your own theorist. What's important to you? What do I need to know? What do I already know? How can I encapsulate it into a concept that helps me move forward on those days when inspiration isn't a lightning bolt, but rather just a process of sitting down and clocking the hours? And that's what we've got to do. We've got to have a concept. We've got to have a way of going forward that's really ours. That's what your own music theory means to me. Let's go on. This next example is a lament bass. And you guys remember what a lament bass is, right? It's this chromatic descent off the minor. It goes back to, like almost Renaissance music, right? It's terrifically beautiful, is how you usually hear it. Tons of tunes, right? That sound is very familiar, but what if we give it an odd metered bump? So what we've got here is groups of 3s and 2s, and it's arranged 3, 3, 3, 2. 11. You'll hear it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. The melody pulls it all together, doesn't it? Gives our ear something to hang on to. That's an 11, grouped 3, 3, 2. And that's not the only way to group an 11. All this stuff is interesting, and that's a slow 11. And for songwriters, I think the slower beats, I think of this as maybe an 11-4. The slower beats are better because what we hear is each chord, and each chord has its energy, its space in the progression. But some moments are a little more emphasized because they feel slightly irregular. It gives us a little kick, and that kick moves us forward, and forward motion is great in songwriting. Let's look at our next example. So this is the creep chord progression, admittedly in F. The 4 chord, the 4 minor 6 chord. Now we're going to do this in 7, a slow 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3. The appeal of this is the passing chords, like the major 3 chord and the minor 4 chord, which are irregular chords, get a feeling of irregularity because they're only 3 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 1. It becomes possible to sing and compose over the tops of progressions like this, I guess I'll just say with repeated exposure. You've got to work on these kinds of meters in order for them to become internalized, to become second nature. And we've already got a really strong second nature in 3/4 and 4/4, 2/4, the dance rhythms that have been with us forever, right? And yet they are really powerful approaches. The use of those little hiccupy 2s and 3s. And well, let's look at our next example, because I think you're probably beginning to get this sense that you might be able to write your own progression and maybe use one of these tricks. So much of composing is the question, what if? And sometimes you just have to try stuff out. I've got essentially a kind of a 9/8 phrase here that morphs into an 8/8 phrase. Does that make sense to you? 8/8 is like 4/4. 4 beats in a measure divided into eighth notes gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'm going to take those 8 eighth notes and then snip it and make it 7. So we go 9, 3 groups of 3, 8, 3, 3, 2, and then 7, 2, 2, 3. Here we go, 9. And then the same thing flipped up. So it feels like a slow 3, doesn't it? But now we're going to go to 8. And this is a common rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Right? Common 4/4 feeling. Most of us would be very happy with this. But what if we go to 7? And I love that fast 7 too. And this is definitely the answer to the question, what if I keep snipping eighth notes off the end? What would be next? 6. What would be next? 5. Very interesting to me. All right, our next example is my favorite of the bunch. It's a slow 15. Well, of course, 4 times 4 is 16, and 4 chord patterns in 4/4 is the most common thing you can do. So if you violate that expectation by clipping a quarter note off the phrase, things are going to get interesting. So here's my progression: E minor, B minor, C, D, and sounds great, love it. I'm going to go 4, 4, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. As one of the subscribers, Harry, observed, nestling the 3/4 measure in the middle of the phrase is a canny way of making it a little less suspect. You just flow through it. I want to do something with this progression because while it's an easy progression, a diatonic progression in E minor, it's got a very nice vibe, you know? And the irregularity of the metrical scheme is all I need to give me that little extra thing that I want in a song. Songs need surprise. They need a little element of, anxiety. I don't know, maybe isn't the right word, but, a little like what is going on to catch the listener's ear. And so many conventional chord progressions have been used without that when we use a kind of weird irregular pattern, it sticks out. And, do you want your music to be noticed? I do. Okay, what's next and what's last? It's the Solsbury Hill take, that I promised. And of course, Solsbury Hill, again, kind of like rests on essentially very conventional chords, just the primary chords in the key of the tune. And yet, because it's got a slow 7 vibe, it turns around in an interesting way. But I'd be willing to bet that the average listener isn't aware of the irregular meter. The pedal tone helps a lot too. It grounds it, right? Grounding in the D. Although I'm not sure Solsbury Hill's in D. I don't think it is. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. New chord progression, just because I had to give a break. Because of the way the eighth notes are, it feels like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. irregular meters can get into the listener's ear in ways that conventional stuff doesn't, and they're incredibly valuable in just that way. I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, as I asked at the beginning of the video. And if you ding the bell, you'll be notified when I do new things. I'll see you next time.